Hey, all, Andy here. Thursday, helping you build a career you love. Live office hours. Great to see ya. Get in the chat, say hi. Let me know where you're watching from. We're going to help you build a great career. Today, I have a little package on some of the trickier interview questions. Been doing a lot of, this is one of the advantages of doing the same thing over and over every day and coaching the same kind of issues and helping people overcome similar challenges. I'm always looking at different ways to explain how to overcome these interviewing, just these nasty little curveballs that employers throw at you. So get in, say hi. We're going to have a lot of fun. Then I'm going to take a bunch of questions. First thing I want to do is remind everybody, this is the last live office hour show before we start on Monday for the 2025 Job Search Mini Camp. I am absolutely stoked. This is going to be a sensational 4 days, probably at least 10 hours, probably closer to 12. Got a lot of great teaching, got some case studies. We'll have a lot of good Q&A. And I do have a workbook coming out on Sunday night, the 15th. I think it is the 15th. Yes, June 15th. So please register. Kara has already pinned that in the chat. So get on that. We gotta have you there. All right, before I dive in, let me just say hello to Genevieve. What's up from the UK? Mary Ellen, how are you? Jamie Zolman. Ollie, I don't know if you know Jamie, but Jamie is 79 years young and just got her second job as part of the Mile Walk Academy. She got her first job when she was 74 and the second job just recently. I know that because she messaged me, and I messaged you back the other day, Jamie, through the little inbox thing. So any of you that are worried about ageism, you're just going to be fresh out of excuses because if Jamie can do it, you could do it. So great to see you. Debbie, what's up? Kay, Kara, give Kara a big shout out and a big round of applause and thanks for all the support she gives you. Jeff, what's up? Nikki, Diane, and everybody else. Okay, welcome. All right. Today I want to talk about how to think about how to answer some of those interview questions that you get asked likely midway through the interviewing process. I'm going to be very specific today about how I see these interviewing questions surface. And they're anything related to those questions you tend to worry about because either they're so general, like tell me about a disagreement or a challenge you overcame or a problem you solved, or they're asking you for your style, like what's your leadership style or your leadership approach or whatever that might be. And you're just not quite sure how to answer these. And I want to bring some color and a new way of thinking about how to answer these so that you can score, you can max out your scoring. And what a lot of people do is they make a huge mistake when they prepare for interviews, because one of the biggest, among the umpteen mistakes that job candidates make when they prepare for job interviews, one of the biggest mistakes that they make is, first thing they do is they start preparing backwards for an interview. What I mean by that is, instead of thinking about what do I need to say, what does the employer need to know, what goals do they have, what aspirations do they have, what problems do they have, and how can I tell stories that articulate how I'm going to address that or how I'm going to help them transform. What a lot of job seekers do is you think backwards. You think, what questions am I going to get asked? Like, what's my leadership style, or a disagreement, or a challenge? And you try to think in a vacuum about stories you want to tell because you think they're good examples to address that particular issue. Well, number one, that's a very inefficient way to go about prepping. And I could even live with your inefficiency. But what I absolutely cannot have is you choosing the wrong story because you're selecting a story that you think is a good example of a disagreement. And I've got news for you. Nobody, and I mean absolutely nobody, hires you for your disagreement skills. No one even hires you for the way you lead people. No one, and I mean no one, hires you for the way you solve problems. That's just not what they hire you for. It isn't. They hire you because you're going to transform their lives, their team, their unit, their business, whatever it is, and you're going to help them achieve their goals. So I want to show you how to think backwards into how to choose the right stories so that you can max out the points you score. Who's tracking with me? This is maybe counterintuitive to what, I'm sure it's counterintuitive to what you think, and it might be counterintuitive to what other career coaches teach you. But I'm here to tell you that when you're in an interview, you're in sales mode. And the way to sell is to show them how you're going to transform their life. Okay, so that's the first thing. Now, let me kind of give you an overarching blueprint. And if I had more time, I'd have built you a whole infographic, because that's my dream with what I'm about to tell you. But since I don't have a lot of time, but I want to get the message across and I don't want you to wait a year for it, I drew this fancy card to show you the anatomy of an interview. This is how 90% of interviews go. And when I say 90, I mean when you get in an interview and you're actually talking to somebody, or you're in person, or even if you're on a Zoomer or whatever, excluding things like you're going to go take a test or something like that. Generally speaking, most interviews follow this sequence, okay? There's the intro part. The tell me about yourself. How have you been? What do you do? Who are you? Right? Walk me through your resume, those kinds of things. I've given you introduction formulas. They're all over the internets on my YouTube channel. And then there's what I call a power story. The power story is one of your more complete stories. Not when I say complete, I don't mean 20 minutes. I just mean as fast as possible, as soon as possible in the interview. You want to bring forward a story that helps the employer understand how you're gonna transform them based on a story that you've created from scenes from your work life, okay, that where you've done something very similar. And so when you look at a job description, you're looking at what is it they want me to do? What deliverables am I going to be responsible for? What are their goals, whether they explicitly state them or whether I can infer them? What are some of the challenges that they likely are going to need me to help them overcome? And you're looking for a story that addresses all of those. One neatly packaged story. That's what I call a power story. Now, it's great if you have one where you've done something like what they need you to do. You've done it in a different environment, but it looks just like what they're going to need you to do in their environment. That's the nirvana. Other times you might have to make analogies and you might have to cherry pick pieces. But essentially speaking, this power story it's like the drive in golf. I don't know if you're a golfer. I used to play a lot, but the first shot down the fairway, the way you hit it sets up the whole hole. It sets up the rest of the hole. Whether you're going to be scrambling and trying to get out of trouble, it's maybe the first play in football. If you gain 5 or 6 yards, you only have to go 4 or 5 yards. You got the whole playbook at your disposal. That's what I'm talking about. That's a power story. And if you're wondering what a power story looks like or how to tell your power story, I have videos on my YouTube channel about my CAR technique. It's CAAR. You can just look it up and you can find out a lot more information on that. But what I want to talk about today is the branches. And I use the term branch because I use the term power, and I'm an electrical engineer from the Iowa State University. Well, there's electrical branches, those offshoots, so to speak. Or if you want to use the branch analogy because you're a horticulturist or you're a nature lover and you want to talk about a big tree, that's your power story, then you got the branches. And then you get, hopefully, time to ask your questions. Now, what are branches? So if you go through and you tell a power story and you're telling somebody how you ran a project or how you built a division or whatever it was, that usually has a lot of the steps that you've taken, a lot of the accomplishments that you made, the things you overcame, all that stuff's neatly packaged. But what good interviewers will do, or even bad interviewers, you will eventually get questions like, hey, based on that project, within that project, what was one of the biggest challenges you overcame, right? That's one of those tricky questions. Or what was the toughest problem you needed to solve in order to develop the strategy that actually was going to work? Or what was the most difficult issue you had in trying to convince the board or the steering committee to actually put forward the budget in order for you to do that? Okay, so what happens is, whether somebody is just giving you behavioral interview questions and they're just rifling them at you because they told you it's the behavioral interview, or whether you're just having a conversation but you've had a chance to get your power story out early, these little branch questions or these confusing questions will come, and a lot of the interview will be made up of these follow-up questions. Even if they appear to be reading off a sheet, it doesn't make any difference because you can get your power story out early because the power story is something you should have designed because it's the story that's most illustrative, that shows your accomplishments and how you're going to help them transform in their environment. So that's what the interview generally looks like. And so when you're thinking about how do I make the best out of the interview? How do I sell myself the most? I want you to start here. I really want you to start here. I don't want you worrying in a vacuum like, they're going to ask me about the leadership question. They're going to ask me about the disagreement question. They're going to ask me about the challenge question. I want you to start, and I want you to just think, based on the job description, or if I don't have a job description, based on the type of company it is, what their product and service is, what team I'm going on, whatever it might be. What are their goals? What are their problems? And what are the solutions that they anticipate? All of this can be ascertained from here because you know what you do. What are you responsible for? What is the ultimate goal that you are trying to help somebody achieve on the team you're on? The goal is not to run the project. The goal is not to build the team. The goal is not to design a dashboard or a reporting tool. Those aren't goals. Those are activities. Those are never the goals. The goals are, I want to increase my revenue. I want to increase my market share. Things that are related to the grade 8. If you don't know what those are, check that out on my YouTube channel. But ultimately, there are certain metrics that all employers are going for. So an example that I love to use is if you're on the marketing team, every marketing team that has existed for all time and will exist for all time, wants to raise their company's brand or recognition or awareness, call it whatever you want, but make it more familiar. They want to generate more leads. They want to generate more leads at a lower cost. They want to generate more leads at a lower cost and a higher conversion rate that turn into customers. Those are the kind of goals. I know those will be the goals. There's no question about it. They have to be the goals. That's what a marketing team does. And then their solution might be, well, we need to write better social media copy and attach it to better videos that we're going to circulate onto internets, or we're going to put television commercials together, or we're going to hold events, or we're going to do whatever. Okay, when you are asked a branch question, hopefully you've told a marketing story about how you built a campaign that generated more leads and did it cheaply and turned into high conversion rates, or whatever it is that you're doing. When you start to think about these supplemental questions, these tricky ones that you get along the way, like, well, how about a time where you disagreed with somebody? When you are thinking in advance, going into an interview of what you might say if you're faced with a question like that, I don't want you to think in a vacuum about what your best disagreement was, because nobody hires you for your disagreeing skills. What they're hiring you for is to transform their marketing department. The disagreement that you want to choose, or the leadership example you want to choose, or the influential example that you want to choose, or whatever it is that they're asking you, needs to be in the context of what it is they want you to accomplish for them. So I'm able to do this in these situations, and this is how it's going to affect you. So the first thing you need to do is select your story in the context of their goals, their problems, and their anticipated solution. And then once you select the story correctly, you want to prime the story. I call this the context. But whether it's a behavioral interviewing question or a situational question, or you're telling a story about a project, makes no difference. You always, always, always want to preview the story, first step one, with the answer and the result. Anybody who tells you otherwise has absolutely not clue one about what works in sales. Okay? If I'm a health coach, the first thing I'm going to do is show you somebody who lost 50 pounds on my program, right? He dropped 50 pounds. She dropped 50 pounds in 1 year, or whatever it is. Want to know how I did that? So you got to get their attention early with the result. What could the result look like? It could look like there was a $40 million opportunity. I'm foreshadowing. There was a 6-minute wait time for our customers. They were pissed. Okay. You're telling me likely, what the issue was, the context, the challenge in a metric form, and I'm going to assume that whatever follows is the path to fix it at a minimum. So you're always foreshadowing. I had a 2-day lag in the turnaround time when our staff put in their tickets related to their PCs that weren't working. Whatever it is, that comes out early and it comes out first. Second thing is, I always want you to ask, well, what is it that I'm trying to sell today? What is it that I'm selling? And so when you think about, they're asking me a disagreement question, but I'm not selling disagreeing skills. I'm selling my organizational skills. I'm showing how I'm a great operator within a team. I'm showing that I know how to transform their marketing department. When you're thinking about how you're going to sequence out your story, it has to include the components that you are selling, and you will always be looking and selling them in a fashion where it's, what is it that the employer wants to accomplish? What are those skills I'm trying to show them I have? I can see them on the job description because they spelled them out for me, or I can infer them because I know what kind of skills a good project manager has, a good salesperson has, a good accountant has. And then I want to show them how it's going to happen in their environment. And then I want to show them how they're going to transform. That's what you're selling. So when you're looking at telling a story, once you prime the result and you tell them what the challenge is, regardless of how the question flies into you, then what you're ultimately giving them, which they're ultimately buying, and this is where you're going to win the story, is in the steps. So if you get a disagreement question, if you get a leadership question, if you get an how did you influence question, or whatever it might be, when I need to, or when I find myself in a disagreement, when I find myself in a situation where I need to influence the management team, where I need to pitch my solution, where I need to lead my staff, when I need to handle a problematic employee, everything goes into the steps, and everything you've done in your entire life has been reverse engineered into this formula, and this formula gives you the ability to sell what they're buying. So then what you're going to do is you're going to win the answer right here in the steps. So the first thing I did, and the second thing I do, and the third thing I do, remember, you have not given them yet the specific situation and the exact story you're going to tell them. You only foreshadowed it. You said, I needed to fix the lag time in the customer service system. You told them there was a problem. You told them exactly what the problem was. There was a 6-minute delay. It was costing us X. It was contributing to the fact that 50% of our customers didn't renew the second year. Whatever it is you want to say up front, they'll understand that as a situation or context. But where you're really going to win the story is citing the steps. This is what they buy. So what do I mean specifically? Well, so there was this 6-minute lag time, and I had this solution on how we were going to fix it, but my colleague didn't agree with my solution. So you're going to tell them what the steps are that you would take anytime you disagree, anytime you influence, anytime you lead, whatever the question is. You're going to give them the steps first, because this is what neutralizes the story. They don't hire you because you tell a good disagreement story. They hire you because you know and you have an approach to the way you handle conflict on the staff, in the teams, and in the building, or whatever it is. The first thing I would always do anytime we don't agree on something is I listen. I listen to make sure I have all the information. The second thing I do is, once I gather the additional information in the other person's point of view, I look to see if, based on what I think, is there an even better solution? Now I go and I engineer the solution with this additional information in mind. I'm not arguing. I'm not trying to prove my point yet. I'm trying to be a good consultant. Then if I'm able to see a better solution, I want to present that and let's work that. If I don't see a better solution, I would actually try to share my viewpoint. So when it came to this 6-minute lag time issue where my colleague and I didn't agree, I listened to what she had to say. Then you go through and you give them the actions. So as I mentioned, on this 6-minute delay, my colleague and I didn't agree. So I listened to her, and when she told me this, and this, it dawned on me that. So then when I went in and I was trying to think about a new way of approaching it, this is what I came up with. then finally, as it turned out, based on her information and my better understanding of what the issue was and something that I didn't know, we were able to put an even better solution together. Now, the story that you selected as your example is irrelevant, because once they absolutely hear these steps, you're hired. That's what wins, because I'm buying the traits. I'm not buying the story. This is where you get to show them how you think, what you do, and that you have a method for every single thing that you do. And you can reverse engineer it and articulate it to them, which makes you a great teacher, makes you a great team player, makes the fact that you have a playbook expedites everything that you do on the job. So it's, here are the steps. When I need to, here's what I do. Here's the example that I was telling you about. And then at the end, with the result, you always want to have the echo of the result. You always want to have a crescendo. So we not only were able to eradicate that 6-minute delay, we got it down to 15 seconds. But what we were also able to do was, and what then happened was, the retention rate went up from 50% to 75%. That's your crescendo at the end. You always want to have a surprise tack on of the result, so that whatever you foreshadowed, they're going to assume at a minimum that you solve that, right? That's what captures their attention. That's what helps them understand the overall blueprint of what you're telling them and why it was important. It's what gives you heft to begin with, and then you're crescendoing at the end. So just to recap this, I want you to remember that you're going to spend a lot of your interview time in these branches with these ridiculous questions that they ask you. When you note them, I always want you to make sure that you are asking yourself, before I get into the session, what is it that I'm selling? Meaning, what accomplishments am I selling? What skill sets am I selling? You want to make sure that that comes out, or that comes through in your prep. You want to think of it in these terms. It's what's my accomplishments and my skills that I can show them in their environment that will help them understand how they're going to change or how they're going to improve. And then when you get into the formulas, I want you to think about from a problematic standpoint, from a goal aspiration standpoint, or whatever it is. What are their goals and what are their problems and what have I done? And then in the context of my stories, I will peel out those other questions that they could potentially ask me, just so I'm very prepared. But I'm not going to think back. I'm not going to think about what stories I want to tell. I'm going to think about them first. I want to think about what they need, the problems they have to overcome, and where in my background I've done exactly that or something very close. Then I will peel these stories within the context of those larger stories that I likely will have already told. And then I can do it by, again, tapping into Andy's car formula. Check that out. Prime it with the result. Make sure that you are running through your steps first. This is a big, big success point. And then when I need to, whatever it is, then you tee it up to recap and replay for them what it is that you're about to tell them. Then you go into the story. So as I mentioned, here's exactly what happened with this disagreement, when I needed to lead, when I needed to handle the conflict, or whatever it is. And then lastly, but not least, never forget to crescendo. If you want more, this is the video I refer a lot of people to. It's a great starting point if you don't know my CAR technique. It's context, and then there's the approach and the action items, or basically the actions, and then the result. Again, it's an echo. The job interview formula, guaranteed to get you hired. I hope you liked that little guy right there. That's a little guy for me anyway in 20 some odd minutes. If you enjoyed it, please click the like button. Share this. People need help. And if you're here with me live, we're going to the chat. If you're watching this on the recording, I'll see you next week. All right. So I've been doing a lot of that lately, where people have been worried about certain questions that they're going to be getting asked during an interview. So we're able to build them a complete blueprint for any interview that not only gets them their power stories and gets them on offense, that I like to say, but also helps them manage any of those defensive questions where they get thrown in the big blue ocean and have to explain things, bring order out of chaos. Okay, I know you got questions. I got a couple of announcements. First thing is, as I mentioned, we do have the job search mini camp. Please register. I'm sending the workbook at exactly 6 p.m. Central Daylight Time on Sunday. So in 3 days. So even if you're in my boot camp, even if you're a premium member, even if you got all Andy, everything Andy, still register. I want to make sure you're getting all the emails and that you are also getting the workbook. The workbook just it's a great little note taker. I guide you through the slides basically. That way you can scribble along as we go. One other thing I want to mention. I hadn't planned on mentioning this today, but I think I'm going to because I am getting more and more people asking, and we already had somebody jump into the new mastermind that I've created. One thing as a heads up, I'm not going to go into all the detail on this, is my job search coaching program, which is my signature coaching program that I offer when it comes to job searching. It gives you an online system that has all the assets that you need, all the asynchronous based assets, the videos, all the tools, the templates, the sequence, all the solutions related to getting started in the right place, writing your resume and all your marketing material like your cover letters and your LinkedIn. It also helps you with job searching itself, the mechanics, interviewing, salary negotiation, and a host of other things, changing careers. Anything you can think of, it's in the program, it's in the universe, and you have access to it. And as part of that program, I also offer group coaching that I do a couple of dozen times of a year, every year, usually about 30 times. We meet as a group. And in addition to meeting as a group on Zoom, I also offer those individuals online support, meaning they can type questions to me through our platform. And they can use Andy AI, which is my digital clone. It's like ChatGPT, only it's built Andy GPT style. It's built from my brain, from my books, from my training programs, from all of my content. So when you're asking it questions, it's giving you information that I've determined prudent and good and solid. You can write cover letters with it, resumes, you can prep for your interview. People negotiated their salaries. They've put first 90-day plans together, all kinds of stuff. All of that's included. And I have an interactive service package, which includes all of this. I have a VIP package, which includes a little bit more. You get a little bit more personalized coaching, a one-to-one session with me. I also review your marketing material. I personally review your resume, your cover letters, your LinkedIn profile, and those kind of things. But for the first time ever, and we're only going to be doing this a time or two each year, and the time this year is now, I'm offering a mastermind a program limited to 10 people. And so I just want to give you a heads up. If you're interested in learning about it, you can go to my job search coaching program page, and there is an enrollments plans option. You could just zip down and I show you what you get with the program. And you could look through this at your leisure, and it's on sale for $300 off. And this is the base package. And for 90% of the people or 80% of the people, it's going to be the way to go. But I also have these other plans, the VIP plan where I mentioned you can have a marketing review, you can get a coaching session, you get some other things. But the mastermind is going to be an elite level of service, let's say. You're going to get 8, actually it's technically 9 coaching sessions because we're running from June 30th through August 25th. We're meeting every Monday as a small group. There's going to be a private spot in the community where you can communicate with me and the other people that I will be in every day communicating with you throughout the week. You're also going to get some leadership coaching on certain aspects. So it's not just a job search mastermind. There's a couple of sessions dedicated to the leadership aspect of your professional brand, of your operating plans, of your career development plans are all included. It's 10 members only, and I would just suggest that if you're interested, just go here to this page. I created a video. This video will give you a lot of detail on what this is. It is limited to 10 members. I do show you some of the perks. And one of the things that you can also understand is the fact that I'm going to be meeting with you every Monday. Well, actually, we're meeting June 30th. And this is to say hello to everybody so I can understand who you are. You can meet everybody and you can share your goals and some of your issues. Then when we get into the hardcore working on you and the other 9 people, July 7th, July 14th. You get the idea. The whole schedule's in here. And then as we get later in the process, we'll work on your momentum. We'll work on your brand and your online presence and all your thought leadership. I'm going to help you with an operating plan. This is not a first 90 days, what should I do to become a beloved employee? This is how do you run your team? How do you run your job? How do you run your unit? Metrics based. What are the activities you need to do? This is not something that's in my job searching curriculum typically. And then we're also going to work on your career development plan. There's going to be a session on that as well. So this is all spelled out for you if you want to check it out. The other thing is there's more insight into why you might be interested in this, but I think one of the biggest reasons that you want to be a part of this is that even if you get in my interactive service and VIP packages, which are awesome and everything's in there A to Z, but it still requires discipline. And a job search is like this. Can we agree on that, right? It's a total odyssey. And some people just want more structure. They want it facilitated. They want more feedback, real time, which I can do with you on a weekly basis if you're one of these 10 people. And I know everybody's job search moves along at a different pace, but it's really, really nice to be able to see within about a 2-month period how all of this stuff works. Hopefully you find your job faster, but if not, it's going to be facilitated the whole way. Not to mention you're going to have a group of superchargers that not only are going to hold you accountable for getting your stuff done, but they're there to cheer you on and they're there to teach. And so it's really a more personalized approach. You're going to have more airtime with me, way more hot seats. Obviously, we do need to limit it to 10 people. Somebody already took a spot. They said, I want to pay the $59.99 before you even open it up to the public, and they did that already. So there's 9 slots left. If you're interested, please fill out the application and then enroll. And if there's any issue with your enrollment, we would return your money. But please do that if you're interested. And if you have any questions, I'll be talking more about this next week, or you're welcome to email us at support@milewalk.com. I'm sure there's a lot of questions related to it, but I'm only going to do this 1 or 2 times a year because that's all actually my schedule can afford. But I'm really, really excited about this. And I am seeing a lot of really good things happening in the employment market. Inflation's going down. Hiring's going up. Not only is hiring going up, wages are way up. Believe it or not, wages are up from a year ago, and they continue to climb. I'm looking at the stats. It's true. And I can tell based on the number of people that are trying to get on my calendar that there's a lot of action going on, even though it's summertime. So just it's something to think about. I know it's not for everybody, and I know that it's expensive, and I know that it's not just the money. Even if you have the money laying around, I still want you to come to as many, or if not all, but as many of those group coaching sessions as possible, because a key success factor for the entire mastermind, not to mention all the 10 people, is having that camaraderie, being able to teach and learn from each other, being able to offer your support. All of those things go a long way in helping you be successful, you becoming a better job candidate, but also helping the group. So I'm so excited about this. I've been spending a lot of time working on the process for this. Not that should matter to you, but I'm super, super stoked. So if you're interested in that option, we will leave that up for you to go check out. But I know some people have expressed great interest. So please, if you are interested, try to act quickly. All right. Thanks for that. Let's see let's get into some of the questions. AG, you are a boot camper. How would you answer? Tell me about your life cycle marketing experience or other subspecialty when you haven't done it directly, but you are a pro and you're certain you can figure it out. Okay, first thing is, if I understand what you mean, I'm assuming you mean life cycle, meaning a complete marketing end-to-end structure. I'm assuming that's what you mean. And if that's not what I mean, then my answer is not going to make any sense. But I'm assuming the way you asked this, that's what you mean. When you say your life cycle marketing, I'm assuming you don't mean the life cycle. I'm assuming you mean the life cycle end to end, if that's the case. So this, to me, is the sweetest of sweet questions you could I would go into the interview literally praying this is what they asked me, because then all I need to do is take them through a full story of what it was we were marketing, how it was we marketed it, and then wherever you are on the marketing team, remember what I say, you are telling a story start to finish from your vantage point. You could walk me through the steps even though you didn't do all the steps. So we had this issue. We wanted to bring this new product to market. Okay, I don't care if you thought up the product or not. Doesn't matter. You're the marketing team. It's your job to market it. So, okay, what's the context? There was $2 billion being spent. We weren't getting any. We had tried to enter the market previously with a product like this, but it flopped because we didn't market it effectively. Whatever the issue is. And then you take them through the whole story. How did you set up the marketing engine from we had to identify the customers, customer segmentation, all the way through problem analysis. We tested the messaging. We built the campaigns. We did a multi-pronged whatever, digital, in-person event, television, whatever it is. And you're taking them through the whole thing. And so you don't have to have done everything. You need to understand what your company did and then tell the story. And so based on the way you asked me, I'm assuming they're asking you what's your end-to-end marketing experience. And so if your job was to do certain portions of that, that's okay. The fact that you're telling a story and you're showing that you have complete command of what was transpiring and what was happening, that's what wins the day. Hope that's what you meant. Lime N, teacher to ed tech startup, 4 years in CSM role, customer service manager role. I'm not sure if that's what you mean. No raise, no title bump, funding gone. How to jump to SaaS. Okay, you know what? As much as I would love to answer this, I'm going to be straight up honest. How you jump to SaaS depends on all of your background, what you know, and the question itself is simply too broad, because I'm going to give you different tactics based on where you are positioned. So the less change in the change, the faster and more successful you could make the change. I understand that you are in ed tech and a startup. Is it a SaaS ed tech startup and you were there 4 years in some kind of related role? It isn't that you're jumping to SaaS. SaaS is not a thing. SaaS is a medium by which a product is delivered. What's on the SaaS platform is what makes it special. So I have a software as a service product that I use. It's called QuickBooks that I use for accounting. Right, that's an accounting product. You could have an educational product, a product that is on SaaS platform that's used by companies to train their employees internally, and it's a SaaS platform, and I'm paying somebody a monthly fee or an annual fee or a multi-year fee to use it. So how you jump is going to be depending on all of these factors, but generally speaking, you're going to put a company list together. You're going to segment those companies. You're going to target those companies using the job search challenge techniques. And then you're going to interview or get your results and evaluate the data, determine which areas have the greatest appetite for you. And then you're going to go from there. So I'm not sure if you are, I don't know your handle. So I'm not sure if you're in my boot camp, but if you're in my boot camp, it's all laid out for you. Let's see. MKL post. Andy, it feels like careers live and die on LinkedIn, but I don't hear you mention it much. I'm not sure what your question is. LinkedIn is a good platform, and you need a profile, And careers don't live and die on LinkedIn. Careers live and die with you. You have an 8% chance of getting your job by having a well-crafted LinkedIn profile. That's statistical data captured over a 15-year period that I personally captured that says, I was approached by someone while I was either on the job search or minding my own business, and I took a job because they reached out to me. I do have lots of LinkedIn videos on my channel, and I have an entire LinkedIn workshop in my premium programs that you can enroll in where we go way deep. Now, I don't know what it is on LinkedIn you want to do, but there is networking that can be done. There's upkeep of your professional networking that should be done. There's job search networking that you could be done. There's monitoring of organizations and the job postings that they have that you can be done. And I do teach on a lot of these things. So it might be either that you haven't seen those sessions or you haven't enrolled in that program. But no, LinkedIn is really, really important. But LinkedIn is not your answer to a job. The mechanics of you running a job search, of which LinkedIn is one tool, is, Amanda, I panic when asked, why did you leave your last position? I don't know how to answer as I'm looking for a similar position with no change in role or responsibilities. I would love to answer you, but I have no idea why you left. So when you talk about why you are leaving, usually the frustration comes from the reason why you either were let go or left. In general, though, with what you gave me here, when you talk about why did you leave, it's always about where you're running toward, not what you're running away from. And without knowing the situation, I can't tell you exactly how I would flower up the answer. But one thing I would tell you is I would always be talking about what the current company offers that the existing company or the most recent company did not. So if y'all give me enough specifics, I can give you more precise answers. David Hughes, the car technique is great. How to pull out of the I need you to provide more detailed death spiral after going through your car. No matter the detail I provided, it wasn't enough. Okay, I'm not sure what aspect of the detail they were asking, but if they ask you for more detail, then you just give them more detail. Here's how I determine what level of detail goes in it. So when I'm thinking about what I'm sharing at each stage in the answer, I only give them enough information where I'm assuming that based on what I'm telling you, you know I have complete command of what I just described. So as an example, if you're going to walk through steps and you say, and the first thing I did was I did an assessment. Okay, you're not going to say I did an assessment and then I built the solution. That's not enough detail. If you say I did an assessment, and being that we were going to need to merge 17 systems into one, I looked at all 17 systems across the 5 different states that covered all the 15 different business functions. I met with the 4 stakeholders. Like if you give them I did an evaluation of buy versus build or whatever it is. If you give them the ingredients, the inventory, I like to call it, of what you assessed, when you're telling your story in the first wave, that's usually enough because what they're doing is they're saying, oh, he's organized. Oh, he knows what to assess. I'm assuming that he knows how to run a meeting, right? They need to make assumptions because you only have a few minutes. All right, so without knowing exactly what data you're giving, it's difficult to know whether you're leaving yourself exposed or not. So if you say, well, I did an assessment, if you're telling them your framework, I did an assessment and then I came up with a solution and then I pitched it to the board and then I boom, boom, boom. So let me walk you through. When I got to do the assessment, you sweep back through it. Remember, the framework only takes 10 or 11 seconds. Literally, then when you go through your actions, those are going to take a few more seconds for each of the different stages. You have to give them enough information so they can say, yeah, I got it. You know what to assess. It sounds complicated, so on and so forth. And when you were saying, okay, so then I came up with a solution, and because I had to eliminate 16 of those systems and we needed to convert it into whatever, I needed to make sure I had the solution, the time frame, the overall budget and cost, the resource allocation, all the different vendors we were going to need, the risk management profile in place, boom, boom, boom. And then I took it and it was a $4 million budget. That's detail. Okay, now I know you know what to put in a statement of work or a business case. I'm comfortable. Now, if I want to dive deeper into the interaction of your presentation with the board, I might say, I'd love to talk more about how you convince the board. $4 million is a lot of money. Can we talk more about that? Sure we can. Of course we can. That's a branch. So without knowing exactly how you're, going through your story, it's difficult to say where you're going to fall into the trap. But if you give them enough, kind of pieces of information within each stage, you should be okay. And it is okay if they ask you for more information. Amanda, let's go back to Amanda. Okay. Toxic work environment and poor leadership. Okay. So now one of the things I also don't know, Amanda, is did they fire you or did you leave on your own? Because if you left on your own, you could say, I would not say toxic work environment and poor leadership. I wouldn't say that, right? Obviously. So if you left on your own, you're going to answer forward. I got to the point where I looked at where the organization was going, what they were investing in, whatever it is. And I realized my interests truly lie in, and then it's got to be something unique to the company you're talking to, which is why I'm here. And I didn't think it was fair to be working there when my heart wasn't in it. That gains you integrity points, okay? Meaning that's great. I didn't want to be loafing on the job, and you could do something like that. If you got fired, then it's going to be a little bit different. If you got fired, it's going to be, I went and I expressed that I felt whatever, and we agreed this wasn't, I agreed that this was not going to be a long-term outlook for me because of the direction the company was going or something. You want to use neutral language. And so we agreed that I would leave or something like that. If you left on your own, okay, then I would just look forward and highlight something that company can deliver for you that the other company can't. I don't care what it is. And then make sure that you let them know that you could even say from an integrity standpoint, it's important for me that when my heart's not in it, I don't want to be collecting a paycheck if I'm not given 100%. I didn't think it was fair, and I thought it was better served. I'm confident in my ability to get a new job. I'm a high performer or whatever, and I just moved. Something like that. You'd be flowered up that way. Nicholas, how are you? Boot camper, just saying hi, Annie. Hey. Have been doing some interviews, and Interview Intervention book has been a great help. I love it. Folks, I give the Interview Intervention book away. Still $7 US. It's always right here anytime I need to grab it. $7. The ebook is $9.99 on Amazon. I also give you the ebook. I give you the audio book. I give you this. I don't know what Amazon's selling the hardbound for, but when it was first out, it was $28.95. Right? So it's a pretty good deal. There's some other bonuses, but grab it. It's a super budget friendly. And the zebra code too, we give 2 for 1 if you want. All right, let's see what else. Okay. There's a question here about quantifying past jobs, but I don't know what you did. So if you let me know what you did, I could try to help you with the kind of metrics that you'll need to quantify. So it's in having trouble quantifying past jobs. It's that question. You said no KPIs, but you didn't tell me what your function is. So let me know. All right. Condell, how do I know if a job is right for me? I have been in a few short-term positions that have not worked out. I love this question. All right. So Condell, how do you know if a job is right for you? The first thing that you want to do is you want to very diligently and thoughtfully, methodically generate a list of requirements, meaning your requirements, meaning what if all put together, if all was in place, would be the best environment that I would thrive in, okay? Now, I'm not saying you have to get every single thing, but what would be like your nirvana? And that's the first thing. I want a boss who's supportive. I want a culture that looks like this. It's a meritocracy. It's fast-paced. There's an open-door policy. Whatever it is. I need a certain level of compensation and those kinds of things. I want to travel less than 25%, whatever it might be. And one of the things, because I believe that it's really important to do this, in the job search coaching program, I actually give the members a spreadsheet with 86 rows on it of all the breakdown of all of these requirements. Now, you don't have to have a spreadsheet with 86 lines, but you do need to have 25 of these requirements. Because the more thorough your list, what's that going to do? Number one, it's going to help you devise questions that you are going to be able to ask in relation to what matters to you. Every time you ask a question to an employer for the purpose of determining if it's a good employer, there's really meaning, as opposed to I'm asking you a question so that you can give me information so I can give you a better answer about what you just asked me about. I'm not talking about those questions. I'm talking about when you have an opportunity to ask the employer questions and you want to get information to make a good career decision, a la what Condell is asking me here, is you're asking, is this a good company in general? And then, is this a good company specifically for me? So if you have your requirements in order, when people say, well, what questions should I ask in an interview? I'm going to say, well, what's important to you? And so what you want to look back at that, because the more complete the list, the greater the likelihood you're going to investigate the areas, you're going to ask your questions, and then you're going to have information, and then you're going to be making an informed decision. Now, there are ways to truly understand what drives you, and then there are degrees to which it's important. Meaning, I might have 25 things that I would love, but really only 3 or 4 matter to me. I can't have a far commute because I have 3 kids at home and I want to be home to do homework with them. Okay, then that gets a 10, meaning it gets a weighted 10, 1 to 10. 1 is the least, it's the lowest need, right? It would be so nice if they gave me free coffee, but I don't need free coffee, right? That gets a 1. 10, need to be home every night, right? Commute's got to be short, no travel or whatever. I need a boss who's supportive. I need an organization whose product I can believe in, whatever it is. Now, I'm not saying you need to get everything, and I'm not even saying you need to investigate everything, but you do need to be clear on what drives you, and you need to be clear on the requirements that are truly your trump cards, the truly, truly heaviest weighted ones, because your decision is going to be predicated on scoring high against the things that matter most to you, as opposed to there can be another option for you that while it scores on a lot of them, meaning check, it has all 25 things. Yeah, but it has a lot of stuff that you don't really care about. And the things that really matter to you, even though it's somewhat there, it's not anywhere near what this other company is. But this other company doesn't have a few of these other things that I don't care about. So you need to be able to look at this in a weighted average. And actually, I've built the spreadsheet to actually do this automatically for the people in the program. But you need to figure out a way to do something like this for you. So step 1, get your requirements in order. Step 2, make sure you prioritize them and weight them. Step 3, determine questions that you're going to ask in relation to each of the questions so that you can investigate, so that 4, you can gather the information and then evaluate it, because he or she who has more information makes a more educated decision. And most of the time, Assuming you have a good decision making or mechanics or good process, you're going to make an informed and good decision. Usually what happens is if you go in half-cocked or you don't have a lot of your requirements in order, you don't investigate them, and then you make assumptions that certain things are there. That's a huge mistake, right? Because it isn't, whenever you're running a project, it isn't, oh, I under budgeted or I over budgeted this or that. It's those items where you had zero accounted for, $0 and zero time, that are going to hurt you. It's the same kind of thing when you're making a decision. If you have no information and you made an assumption and then you say, well, the employer lied, and the employer didn't lie. The employer likely answered the questions you asked. And if you didn't ask the question with a certain level of precision or rationale attached to it, it's difficult for me to understand what information you need. So I'm going to just make an assumption of why you're asking me, and then I'm going to tell you why I think that's cool. So just keep that in mind. But one of the things you can do is there's a video on my YouTube channel called How to Start Your Job Search in the Right Place. Check that out. Jessica C., how many years of work experience should you have on your resume? Okay, so that is, let's back up, and anytime you all ask me a question, so let me try to answer this in the context of what I just taught you about the interviewing approach, the first 24 minutes of this show. I said it's incumbent upon you as a candidate to figure out what information they need to know, and then to give them that information so that they know you can transform their life. When you ask me a question about how many years should you have on your resume, that's not the question that you need to know the answer to. And as a matter of fact, there is no actual right answer for that, because what you really want to focus on is what length of resume and how far back should I go that markets me best. So for one person, that might be 15 years. For another person, that might be 30 years. For another person, it might be taking the top 15 years, skipping 10, cutting here, and then adding some additional information toward the bottom that was germane to the role that they're targeting. So when I think about what markets you best, there are probably no less than 24 questions that need to be asked and answered in order for you to determine exactly what to put on your resume. Let me just give you an idea of what I mean. Well, Andy, in the last 5 years, I did so. Actually, let me take another example. In the last 10 years, I worked at these cloud-based computing companies. But the prior 15 years, okay? The prior 15 years, I worked in, maybe this is on my mind because I just coached somebody who did this, in wearables. Okay, technology, wearables, watches, whatever. Okay, we interviewing for a wearables job? Okay, I want you going back 25 years. You follow me? Because now you got the 15 years that you want to show, even though the recent 10 were not as germane. Okay, is that same person going for a cloud-based computing position? You want to lump 5 of the 15 off the bottom to just show 20? Go ahead. Do you have 10 years of cloud computing, 15 years of wearables, and 5 more years down here of cloud computing? You want to whack this out here? You want to go 10, 10, strip out these 5 and add these 5 and just call it additional experience? Do that. So do you see how complicated it is? Are you a job hopper? Are you a job hopper? Last 3 hops, 1 year, 1 year, 1 year. 5 years below that, that's your 8. 10 years below that, then you have another one down here that's 5. Don't even think about dropping this 5 off, because these 3 make you look bad. If you have a couple of good runs, I'm looking at you holistically. I want to see that other 5. That really, then what you do is you put all that on your resume, and then they say, oh, geez, Jessica, you got these 3 hops here. You know what? They're all the same problem. The reason I went from this one to this one to this one was, here's the problem. It's been solved. As you could see from my entire resume, I generally make good decisions. You follow me? So every single one of you is different. So any career coach that tells you an employer only cares about, don't tell me what the employer cares about. I care about marketing you. What markets you best? The employer doesn't know what it doesn't see. Do you want to lop off stuff that you need to make you look better and then handicap your ability as a candidate? This gets me enraged because there is so much bad advice out there that this particular issue I laugh at when I see as I swipe on my LinkedIn feed. And so I want you to know there is no exact right answer. Everyone's is going to be different. Some people want to show, I have a 10-year run plus at what's now Accenture, way back from the late 80s into the very, very late 90s, right up to the millennium. Well, I'm not taking that off. I'm showing all of it. And I don't care if it makes me look older. It also shows how well pedigreed I am and the training I had early in my career that's been carried forward. I only need that much of real estate on my resume to show that. 1988 to 1999, advanced through the ranks to manage projects of X billions, zillions of dollars and X number of people. That's it. That's all I need to put on my resume. But the point is it's there, and now somebody sees that, and then they get an idea. That's part of me. The employer is looking at you holistically, and you need to package the story that tells you the best. But thank you for asking that, because that's very confusing, and people are very lazy. And any career coach who tells you just put 10 or 15 years, well, that person, their career coaching license should be taken away. Anna 123. Anna 123 Bootcamper, is the job requirements spreadsheet available in all your programs? No, it's only available in the job search coaching program and in the interview intervention training program, the full interview intervention training program, the $800 one, or it's in the bootcamp or in the job search coaching program. Those are the only two places. Adri Vegan? How do we find or identify the names of recruiters or hiring managers for positions we see listed or for companies we want to work for? Where do we look for this information? Okay, so while it's not an exact science, number one, it's a great question. And it's something that you need to know how to do, and there's some trial and error. And I actually would recommend the basic place to start is LinkedIn. Look for that company, go to the company, then go to people, then add recruiter or HR, add the Boolean tag, the Boolean string right in the search box, and then it'll come back. Then look at what they recruit for, and then it might say. However, I'd be more interested in finding the boss. And so I would look for somebody who manages that team. And then you're going to say, how am I going to know that? I don't know exactly. It depends what position it is. It depends what level you are. If you're a VP of marketing, I know you're looking for the senior vice president of marketing or the CMO. If you're a director of marketing, I know you're looking for the VP. So you take these shots and then you look on so you look on LinkedIn and you triangulate. You also might need to do it from a further away standpoint, meaning, hey, it's a large company and I'm in research. And research could be in the product development area, or it could have its own department, a researching department that's a shared service that services every area. All right, well, you're going to need to look. You're going to need to do some LinkedIn searches. Now, what we do in the job search coaching program is we teach you this, and we teach you how to use Google Boolean to actually look inside the LinkedIn database to figure that out. And there are other databases that you could also use, and there's also different Google searches that you can do. So it's not an exact science, but that ought to get you started. And if anybody is in my job search coaching program, we have literally a lesson just on this alone. For an hour, we teach you just exactly how to triangulate these people inside the job search challenge. And I believe it might also be inside the LinkedIn workshop. Ian, you're welcome. Thanks for your consistency to Thursdays. You are so welcome. Do you know, thank you for that. And thank you for your dedication to Mile Walk and the Academy and my YouTube channel and the blog and all that good stuff. I will tell you all that consistency literally is your greatest trait when it comes to job searching, showing up every day for your search. You don't know what's going to happen every day, but if you show up every day, you give yourself a chance for something to happen. And nothing's going to happen if you're sitting on your hands waiting for people to contact you or waiting for somebody to notice your stellar LinkedIn profile or whatever, or a recruiter to contact you. Don't wait on that, right? You got to get in motion and keep going. And then if nothing's happening, look at what you're doing and evaluate the data. Now, I teach you how to do this. Again, inside the program, there's ways to collect the data, parse the data or responses or lack thereof. There's a way to section out the information so that you can look for where the fish are biting for you. But the consistency and the discipline is what's going to carry the day. I will take an organized, disciplined, consistent person any day over somebody who's more talented. So Ian, you're welcome. All right, let's see. Okay, I love this question. Tweel. Hi, Andy. I'm a recent graduate in IT and have been struggling with landing a job. In the meantime, I have been upskilling and working on personal projects which are relevant to the jobs. How important are personal projects compared to work experience in the context of lacking work experience? Okay. I love this question because it's really several different scenarios. Because, Tweel, I'm going to answer you, but I want everybody to know it's not the same answer for everybody. So let me be specific. So Tweel's asking, first recent college graduate. Number one, the most important thing about a recent college graduate are your traits. Okay, number one. Traits, meaning because you don't have a lot of work experience. Maybe you have summer internships, awesome. Maybe you co-opt, awesome. Oh, that's awesome. That's even better. But just because you don't have that, if you had to hustle and park cars in the summer, but you got an IT degree and you came to me and said, I graduated in this and that and these my school projects, and I graduated in May. And it's June or July or August or whatever, or I graduated in December, whatever it is. And while I've been looking for work, I've also been building IT sandboxes in my basement so that I could learn these skills. Now, that in and of itself, what I extract from that is not that you know so much more about the technology, it's the fact that you took the initiative to do that. Okay, so I like that trait. Self-start, go get, those kinds of things. And I do think that helps for a recent college graduate, okay? And so that part of your answer, that's what I would say. But I wouldn't say that to everybody because not everybody's personal projects are going to build the skills that I need on the job. If you say, well, I'm a marketer, but I'm helping people organize their closets, okay, well, that doesn't translate for me. So that doesn't carry the gusto. If you're a marketer or a seller or a product developer or a subject matter expert of any kind, I want you building your online brand. That's going to do more for you because it's going to make you look more knowledgeable. And building your online brand, I'm talking about things like writing long-form LinkedIn articles and those kinds of things. So it's a great question. And I would say that it's going to have varying degrees of potency or return depending on who you are, what your function is, and where you are in your career. Let's see. Is it Dharmesh? I'm 57 and an expert senior Scrum Master or coach. I've applied to jobs, but I'm not moving past second interview. Okay, that's really good information. Any insights to move forward will be helpful. Okay, when you're not moving past the second interview, okay, now let's just make an assumption here. You got past the screen, so you got the goods. You don't get past the hiring official. So here's what's happening. You're so technically gifted or knowledgeable on your subject matter that the recruiter doesn't want to bounce you. Okay? You're getting into the interview with the hiring official, I'm assuming, and there's a storytelling problem. The way in which you articulate your fit, your value, how if you're leveraging the CAR technique or whatever storytelling technique you're using is ineffective. Because if you're getting past the screen and you're getting to the hiring official, you should be moving forward. Then it's usually 99% of the time a storytelling problem. Because if you're able to get the interview and you're able to get to the hiring official, that's pretty good. So I know you're qualified. And I would say, so a lot of what I do every single day, so this week already, just Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I've had 10 coaching side, a lot. It's just I'm waking up and I'm rolling out of bed and I'm like going boom, 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 boom. And many of the people are having issues with the storytelling. That's the primary problem that job candidates have, because your accolades are probably pretty good and you can get interviews, but you can't get past the interview. That's a storytelling and a sales problem. So my suggestion is, I mentioned this video earlier and I have others related to it. I don't think you're not a boot camper. I don't think. I would start here and look at my interview playlist. If you are going to be joining me next week, for the job search mini camp on Wednesday, we're going to be talking interviewing, and we're also going to be doing a case study to build a story. Hannah and we're going to be sharing that story with you, and I think you might take some note about how it's processed, because what most people do is they want to report their history. You are not there to report your history. You are not there to relay reality to me. You are there to tell me a story for illustrative purposes to help me understand how you're going to change my life. Period. Hard stop. That's it. If you can't do that, you don't get the job. So I have a feeling that that's what's happening for you. Remember that, folks. Your job in an interview is A, not to answer their questions, B, not to report your history. It is to tell me stories that help me understand how you're going to change my life. That's it. That's all it is. If you are having problems getting past the interview, that's what's happening. There's a breakdown in your ability to do that for any number of reasons. All right. Let's see. Folks, I have got to get rolling at 12:15. If I didn't get to your question, so sorry about that. I do appreciate it, but we got loads of time next week. Here's the deal. Monday, 11 a.m., Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 11 a.m. Central Daylight Time. We're opening up. I'm teaching resume writing, job searching, interviewing, and salary negotiation. On Monday and Tuesday, we have job search case studies. On Wednesday, we have an interview storytelling case study. On Thursday, we have a job search case study as well. And then there's Q&A after that. If you're in the job search coaching program, that's on any level. If you're in the ISP pack, the VIP pack, or if you're my one masterminder, Sean, #1 badge, you get priority in your questions. If you're interested in joining the program, it's on special for $300 off the 2 lower end packages, the ISP and the VIP, although those are not low end packages. They just happen to be lower end compared to the mastermind. You get $300 off through June 24th. And then June 24th, we start a whole nother round of 3 days of interactive coaching. That's going to be interactive coaching. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, June 24th, 25th, 26th. And anybody who's in the job search coaching program can come to that. For anybody, for all time, no matter what package you joined on. I've converted everybody over and everybody gets all the modalities now. I just love this program. I hope you can be part of it. And then I guess just to throw the cherry on top, on June 27th, I'm with my leadership coaching group. We're talking about professional networking, not building the network, but actually networking, like business, not building the tech network. I'm talking about networking. So get in, sign up. If you got any questions about the boot camp, meaning the job search coaching program, let us know. If you're interested in the mastermind, 9 seats left. Don't worry, I'm not going to give you a countdown. All of a sudden, there's just going to be a wait list. So if you're interested, jump in. All right. If you're an interactive service or VIP member of the boot camp already and you're interested in the mastermind, email Kara and she can help you. All right. Talk to y'all soon. Be good. Hope you enjoyed today. See you next week. See you Monday.